Hi everybody, it's Cheryl with Silver Sage Studio, and today I'm going to show you how I make this Mother's Day card using some very simple Copic coloring. So let's get started. As you can see, the ink that I'm using is the Hero Hues black ink. This is an India ink, which means that it'll work well with these Copic colors because it's permanent. I'm stamping onto white Michael's Recollections cardstock. Now, I couldn't find this online, but you can buy it in Michael's stores. It is 110 pounds, and it is a really good cardstock. I don't like to do ink blending on it, but it's got a nice feel and density to it for card bases, and it works great for Copic coloring. I would probably normally use Bristol paper for my Copic coloring, but opted instead to use some simpler supplies for this particular product. I'm using Post-it notes that are fully adhesive on the back as my mask here. I don't need to cut out the entire image because I'm only going to be overlaying the second stamp in a couple of different spots. So it was pretty simple and quick to do. The markers that I'll be using today are Copic Chow markers. And on one side, they have this really nice brush tip, and on the other side, they have a bullet tip. So I find this is versatile enough. I can do pretty much anything I want. I can color large areas, I can color small areas. It works well for me. The three colors I will be using today are G21, G03, and G67. And that's what I'm going to use for the leaves. I'll talk about the blues in a minute. I'm swatching out here my three colors just to make sure that I have my color order down. Now, just a word about Copics. I know Copics are really pricey. I avoided buying them for many years because I just couldn't justify spending that kind of money on a marker. I did end up putting on my Christmas wish list a pack of these Copic Chow markers, and I will link to that. It's from Amazon, and getting them from that in that pack definitely brought down the price point per marker. So I would recommend doing something along those lines. I find pretty much I have colors that I need. I might be buying a few more here one of these days, but for the most part, I feel I'm pretty well set with these. So my process is to start with the lightest color, and then I put down the darkest color, and then I go back and put down the medium color. I am no Copic expert here. I'm just coloring with these markers and blending by overlaying, and that's it, and using the darker colors for shadows. That's it. But I was quite happy with the final result of the card, and so, that's really all that matters. Like I said, I'm not a Copic expert, but I really do believe in using your products. I try to make sure that I'm in my craft room every day for at least a half an hour, just using supplies I have and doing something with them. So sometimes it's just play, and sometimes I'm making a final project like I did today, but you've got to give yourself that exposure to the products, how they work, what to do with them. That's the only way that you're going to feel confident with them. So I am doing this video, even though, like I said, I'm not a Copic expert, but I thought I would share my process. The stamp set that I'm using for this particular card is Simon Says Stamp Better Together stamp set. It's a beautiful stamp set. It's very versatile. You can do lots of different designs and layouts and colors on it. Now, I am creating a Mother's Day card, but really, I think this particular project could very easily be turned into a thank you card, a birthday card, or even a sympathy card. I'm using the brush tip end of my Copic Chow markers, And I find that I just feel like I can see a little bit better where I'm coloring, and I feel like I have a little bit of control over it, and I just like using that end more. If I were covering a large area, I'd probably use that bullet side. I finished coloring those leaves, and now I'm moving on to the flowers themselves. I'm using BG10, BG23, and BG15. When I'm using that lightest color, I'm actually leaving a couple of white spots, which I feel kind of works for those petals and gives them a delicate look. I do the same process that I use for coloring the leaves. I start with that lightest color, and then I go to the darkest color, and then I go to the medium color there. I think I actually reversed that there and did the medium, and then the dark color, and then went back to the medium. And then I go back to that lightest color and go over those petals again. I'm combining two different sentiment stamp sets for my sentiment on here. The Mother comes from a Paper Tray Ink stamp set that's no longer available, but the You're the Best comes from the Simon Says Stamp Tiny Sentiment Strips. And then I'm using one of the heart shapes that is in the Simon Says Stamp Better Together stamp set, which is the flower stamp set right there. I'm going to use that just to add a little bit of embellishment. I'm stamping that with the Paper Tray Ink, Hawaiian Shores ink, which is beautiful, I think. Now at this point I realized the card just needed a little more something. There was a little too much white space there for me. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp a flower combo over off on the side here. Right now I'm just checking out my options, and I've learned something about myself by watching these videos. I have learned that I tend to tap my fingers when I'm trying to make a decision. As you can see here, I stamped that little flower image over off on the side, and I'm going to go in and color that just like I colored the images on the left side of that panel. I'm going to mount this onto a piece of Paper Tray Ink, Hawaiian Shores cardstock, which is the paper that matches the ink that I used for the sentiment. This is my favorite cardstock of all time, and this is my very last sheet of it. So I think I'm going to have to do a Paper Tray Ink order here pretty soon. Here I'm using the Wink Estella pen over the flower image and doing a little bit of dancing while I'm at it. I love to dance, listen to music while I'm making cards, and often pause to dance a little bit. When I mount this card front onto the card base, I'm going to use foam tape to give it a little bit of dimension and finish off the card that way. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you did, I hope to see you back here one of these days on our next project. Happy crafting!